I'm going to share my screen with you. 1 second.
I can share.
I'm sharing. Oh, you're sharing? Okay. Yeah. Do you have my presentation open?
No, not yet. Why don't you share you yourself? But I can see you guys. I can see your face. Not slide.
Yeah, I think I need to.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe I got you. Oh, here you are.
Can you see me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So slide is change to full screen.
Is it possible? Let me try it.
Okay. Okay, very good.
All right. Okay. So today we are going to continue with the effects of new technology on Japan. And last Saturday we finished discussing employment issues. It is calculated, like globally, that a lot of jobs will be affected through automation and new technology. So jobs will be replaced by machines or software and machines, IoT. A few numbers. PwC estimates that 30% of the UK jobs could be at risk of being replaced to robots and AI. In the US, 38 jobs could be at risk of automation. And McKinsey predicts that by 2030, about 800 million jobs could be lost worldwide to automation. This doesn't mean that everybody will be completely jobless, like completely replaced, like what we discussed with the taxi drivers, for example, being replaced by self-driving vehicles, but more that a large part of somebody's job will be replaced with automation. That means that there is less demand for employment. People will not be completely laid off and superfluous, but in most cases, it will be a significant part of their job that will be lost or will be replaced with automation. So people can do more with the help of technology, and some people will be replaced. Regarding income inequality is likely to grow. The possibility that this could lead to political instability, and individuals who need to retrain for new careers won't be young, but especially the middle-aged professionals, because this is actually where the automation will be hit hardest. The younger generation grows up with these technologies. It will be easy to catch on. We already saw this in the internet era, where the younger generation is very easy to adopt and to adjust to new technology. Basically, that's their new reality. But the older generation has more difficulty to adjust. The changes won't hit everybody equally. Only 5% of the current occupations are expected to be completely automated. So 60% of the jobs, it says here, 1/3 of activities will be automated. So it's like that.
Sorry,
technology, the storage.
5% of what? What is 5%?
5% of the current occupations tend to be completely automated. So if you're talking about, for example, the taxi driver, if you're talking about the shop staff in a convenience store, that could be completely automated. No person will be standing at the counter anymore. That means that that job will literally disappear.
Yeah, too small.
But it could also.
No, too small. Sorry? Numbers. Why 5%?
Well, actually, 95% of all the changes will be that, for example, that we still need white-collar workers, but because of OCR, because of optical character recognition, it will not be basically the job will be largely replaced for data entry, but not entirely, because we still need some kind of data entry. We still need some kind of office workers. So it's only the jobs that will be completely replaced by computers, the people who are working in the factories, who are tightening a bolt or doing manual jobs, that will be replaced by robots. But a lot of other jobs are still needed, but into much lesser extent. So the 5% means that, okay, this is just man replaced by computer or by a robot. The other 95% is basically men becoming largely replaced by computer or robot, but not entirely. So that means that just employment will go down, the numbers will go down, but the job in itself will not entirely disappear.
So it means, just following sentence, you said 1/3 of activity will be automated, means also 6% of job, right?
Yes, so 64% of the jobs will be influenced by 60% of all the different jobs in the world. 60% of the jobs will be affected with automation, but 40% will not change at all because automation will not reach there. But 60% of the jobs, 60% of the people will be affected by automation, and employment in their profession will be reduced because of innovation. So that they could become more effective. For example, data analysts could become much more effective with the new technologies. Could do much more. The question is, okay, will we analyze much more data, or will employment in data analysis be reduced? Well, the jury is out on that. We don't know yet.
But you said that just only 5% is disappearing.
Completely replaced. Yeah,
but
completely replaced.
Completely, you said, but only 5%?
Yes. Well, it means no. So okay, so no, between 30 and 40% actually. That's so 30 and 40%. But if we're looking at all the professions, so if we look at taxi drivers, if we look at medical staff, if we look at researchers, if we look at police, if we look at all these different professions, then of all these different professions, only 5% is likely to be lost, because that profession just stops, because we don't need a taxi driver anymore. It will be a self-driving vehicle. But that's just it. But if we look at, for example, white-collar staff working at an office, their work will be largely disappearing. But not every every white-collar work will disappear, because that maybe the number of staff will be reduced by 60-70%, but there's still need for 30-40% to operate the machines, to engage with people on the telephone, things like that. So we still need people to actually work there, but a lot of the employment will disappear.
Okay.
So as a whole, these jobs will not disappear, but employment within these jobs will be largely reduced.
Okay.
So technology destroys jobs, but not work. The PC, for example, the PC has destroyed jobs, some jobs, but it also has created a lot of jobs, and that is the positive side of automation. Actually, it's estimated that the PC has created more jobs than it has destroyed. We use PCs to become more effective, to help us to do our jobs better, to create more output, and not simply to replace men. So the PCs didn't only destroy jobs, actually, as a whole, it actually created jobs. Economic history suggests that new technology can benefit everyone in society, enabling growth in productivity, real wages, shorter work weeks, and greater job satisfaction. And any technological unemployment will prove to be short-lived. So this is the economic vision of new technology. So there will be a short period where we will need to adjust ourselves, but as a whole, a new technology, it will create more efficiencies, and that means that some people might lose their jobs temporarily, but they will move into the more productive sectors, and as a whole, that will lead to more productivity, and that as a whole will grow the economy. That is the positive scenario, but is that really true? Is it really true that this new technology will people will be replaced and grow as a whole? Because we already discussed, like, okay, what is the effect of, for example, an Amazon Fresh on the supermarkets? Is this technology that creates jobs or reduces jobs? I think that there are no guarantees that this growth in productivity, these cost reductions will actually lead to more employment.
Oh, wait a minute, but you said create a new job, but you need to be more concerned about how many percentage of creating job comparing diminish of job.
So I'm not so optimistic about the new technology. Well, we saw with so this is the economic history, and this is what we saw, for example, the first industrial, well, especially the second industrial revolution. So the combustion engine and the cars actually replaced all the people who were driving these carriages with horses. So they lost their jobs. But on the other hand, a whole new profession was created, like taxi drivers, truck drivers, etc. These people who lost their jobs as drivers of these carriages with horses, they finally became re-employed in a different sector. The people who made the whips that drove the horses, they had to be they all lost their jobs, but they could finally be re-employed because the combustion engine as a whole created a whole new demand. And we created airplanes, ships, etc. became more and more ships were built. The economy as a whole was growing, so that new technology led to a growth in the economy. Now, that as a whole, that was true. So the unemployment generated in one sector basically created a whole lot of new employment in a different sector. But the question is whether AI, renewable energy, will actually, and IoT will actually generate the same level of replacement. Whether the 30% of people who are about to lose their jobs will be re-employed in new sectors is actually highly questionable. I think that this revolution, this technological revolution, as Rifkin put it, will lead to some new employment, and he says, okay, 2 generations are needed to make our whole world around us more energy efficient. So the buildings around us put isolation in it, make it possible for these buildings to be connected to the grid, to the smart grid. Put solar panels on top, etc. So that's all human work that needs to be done. That will be a huge investment, and it will be a huge employment opportunity. But after that has been put up, basically the sun will shine, and we don't no longer need to regulate that, because it will be automatically done. The smart grid basically will take care of itself. I mean, maybe a few operators will need to maintain it, but that's it. There's not so much employment done. The buildings need to be maintained, true, but it's not to be expected that the whole transition to these new buildings and to the solar-powered energy is likely to create a lot of new jobs. Basically, it will be more efficient, more effective. we will be less pollutant, and hopefully we will be able to curb global warming. But other than that, the GDP is not likely to grow that much as a result of going to renewable energy. So what we saw in the past, where new technology created new jobs and created a whole new economic activity, I'm not so optimistic that that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, last week we discussed about these kind of issues. Problem is some industry will be disappearing, like automobile industry, and but
not entirely, but for a large part.
Yeah, but drastically they're reducing their productivity or reducing our GDP itself, because industry, more than half of the industries workforce will disappear. It means output will declining. So that discussion is okay. We go okay, GDP declining, or in this case, we try not to spend money. Or GDP reduce 10%. Okay, we don't spend 10% of spending. This is we discuss, and what's going on in future. I think some cases you said creation of new job, right? But this portion is not so much large portion of this disappearing job.
Right, I think so too. I think that employment will be reduced, less employment. So new technology said, okay, it may lead to unemployment that's temporary, but I think in this case it's not. It's not temporary. We'll need to consider that basically employment will be reduced. This new technology will bring us benefits, but not in terms of GDP, not in terms of creation of new jobs. So a lot of people will lose their jobs, and a large share of those people will not be able to be re-employed because there are not so many jobs to go around. So the question then becomes, okay, how are we going to deal with that? And still, there are opportunities. If we look at Japan, there are obvious opportunities for care workers, for people who will be looking after our elderly population. There will be a whole industry that will cater for elderly people. Will that be enough to replace all the people that will lose their jobs, the taxi driver, the shop staff, the people who work in the industries that become obsolete? Like the printing industry.
What? What?
Yes, it is. Like the printing industry.
Oh, I see.
Well,
I think you're hitting a very interesting point since last week, and unemployment ratio will going up, and we don't need to work. More people are available, and also GDP is declining. But what's the problem? I think this kind of technology innovation causes us kind of situation, but this is not a problem.
Yeah, I think actually it is a problem. Why is it a problem? Because I believe that we can deal with it, right? We can deal with it, but only if we have a strong government. Because we will need to redistribute income. That means that we need to, in order to pay for this, we need tax revenues, and because the wealth comes into the hands of fewer people, it will be very difficult to tax those people, because the financial world is no longer no longer tied to national boundaries. I'm studying a little bit about Bitcoin and blockchain at the moment, and I must say that the opportunities for tax evasion are enormous if you look at what blockchain does, and what more likely what things like Bitcoin, etc. do. It will be quite easy to hide your traces and to move wealth from A to B without it being visible to the taxing authorities. It's already happening on a large scale. We looked at that in previous sessions, like Panama Papers. The richest people in the world, for them, it's quite easy to hide their financial traces and to not pay taxes. I mean, it's no secret that the richest people in the world pay a lower tax percentage than the middle income, the salarymen, because their income is very easy to trace, because it's paid by the people who own the companies. But the people who own the companies, how are we going to tax them? That's becoming more and more difficult. So only if we are capable of getting a grip on those people, the richest in the country, who own most of the wealth, we will be able to generate enough tax revenue that will enable us to actually provide minimum income. But will we be able to do that? I'm more than skeptical.
My concern is, okay, for specific companies, they try to implement IT revolution technology. They can reduce employees and they can get more profit. So government to get more tax. But just in this case is a company. But how do we going to consider for automobile industry? Like industry itself will going to be shrinking. They don't need to make car more. And this is not one company, but this is industry. Government all industry is diminishing. And this causes us declining GDP. Every industry will be influenced by IT revolution. So how do you think about this kind of situation will come in next 1 decade?
Well, actually, maybe I can wait answering this question, because I want to show a few videos that actually shows exactly what it means if an industry is in decline. What is going to happen? It will manifest itself all across the board. This is about taxis in New York, what will happen is that just what happened, for example, in other industries. In the Netherlands, for example, we had a coal mining industry. In the UK, they had it too. It's unavoidable that these kinds of industries will come to an end, and it will leave some people behind. Most of them will ultimately find new employment, as happened in the coal mining industry. But a lot of those people, a large percentage, will be left behind. Now, the people who work in the car manufacturing industry, I'm a little bit more hopeful than the coal miners, because they have higher education. Most of them have higher education, so for them it's easier to be retrained. But like for coal miners, for taxi drivers, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure what they can do, especially like if we look at the average taxi driver in Tokyo. I believe he's probably around 70. His age is probably around 70. He's already retired, so basically that will mean the end of his work, and there's only so many construction places to go by where people can stand and regulate traffic. There's just not so much employment opportunity. So what are we going to do with those people? We need to, pay pension or give them some minimum income. Otherwise, they will not be able to survive, perhaps. But for that, we need money, and Japan has already spent its money. Okay, there are some federal reserves that are not being expressed in the government debt, So maybe the 180% of government debt is not as bad as it looks, but still, we've already spent money. Like in the good times, Japan has already spent all its money, and that's a big concern, I believe. Because you need money to go through this transition. You need money to actually support people to go through this transition, and we already spend it on wasteful.
I think 100 years ago we are switching from horse to combustion engine. Now is a very, at that time also they has a lot of warnings about unemployment, I believe, but I think the same. Next phase is something happen. Even if automobile industry is shrinking, but another industry will come in on the surface, right?
But will that, okay, but I don't see it. I don't see, because basically the whole idea is that our new technology will increase our productivity, but will that productivity actually lead to a higher GDP? We see that GDP is shrinking, right? And so that means that basically we are not generating more money. Basically, we're going sustainable. We're going to share more things. We're going to live more responsibly. But that also means that there is less employment opportunity. The only employment opportunity that I see is in voluntary work, in actually looking after each other. Other than that, I don't see it.
Like Takashi just mentioned, in Vietnam, they are making a building a lot. Tremendous number of buildings are under construction now. And
Right.
in China, it's okay. They are construction boom shifting to local area from Shanghai, Beijing, or Shenzhen. So those countries still are going well for
Right.
consider for unemployment. But like Japan is very mature. They are
Right.
They are not investment for building, construction, and
So it's but do you remember what the video that we saw about Norway? What Norway is doing? They put all their assets, everything that they earn with their oil revenue. They by law they put them overseas. They invest them overseas, and they now bring that money into Norway.
oh yeah, they invest money overseas, right?
Right. Right. Right, they invest their money overseas. Now Japan sits on a lot of resources, but they insist on investing it inside Japan. It's not dynamic. Now is the chance to
wait a
actually.
minute, Norway. Just a moment. Norway is invest money overseas, not people. So it means they got money overseas, investment profit, and
Right.
they try to bring those money back to the country as so kind of redistribution to their people, but still their employment ratio is high, but they don't care about this.
Right, so they basically benefit from growth overseas because, like Norway's economy is mature. It's a very small population. I believe Norway only has about 5 million people, not more than that. They sit on a lot of wealth, and you can invest it in Norway, but you can only go that far. So the sum of money is way too big. And what will happen is, Kimoto-san asked about this last Saturday, about the Dutch disease. It will basically appreciate the corona, and that will make the whole of Norway uncompetitive. So smart as the Norwegians are, they said, okay, well, we cannot put that money into our own economy. We need to invest it outside of our country. And if you basically want to maintain that wealth, what you do is you probably get an average dividend on your investment of about 4%. So you can invest everything overseas and take the 4% dividend, keep your wealth overseas, and actually use that 4% dividend to pay for healthcare, to pay for education, to pay for minimum income for your population. Japan has that wealth. it's still inside this country, but you need to start to invest right now.
So this is a problem. Japan, just Takahashi mentioned, even if, many aggressive, robust Japanese people try to make investment overseas, but the Japanese majority of headquartered executives are not so much willingly to make investment overseas, especially for the joint venture, and try to make challenge, very conservative. So this is like a good example with China. We are investing for past several decades, but almost none of the Japanese company no growth compared with the local Chinese companies. It means Japanese company very reluctant to make challenge, cooperate, keep pace with Chinese company. And Vietnam is the same. And maybe Bangladesh will coming soon, backing up the economy, but Japanese company we cannot do that. So they cannot catch up with their speed of their growth. This is my concern. Also, Takashi mentioned this is true. Currently, Vietnam, how many companies, or like recent Myanmar, how many companies make big investment for those areas?
Only if JICA finances it.
Exactly. This is another problem.
But this is also, maybe this is due, I don't know, I'm making a jump here, but just to throw it out there. If you look at the DNA of the Norwegians, they are Normans. They are travelers. They have a global international mindset. They always believe that their wealth can be found overseas. So they have been conquerors, plunderers, and they're very fierce people. So with a global mindset, this is different from the Japanese. Norwegians automatically think across the border because their country is small. The number of people is small. There are only so many opportunities within the country itself. They automatically think international, just like the Dutch people automatically think international because our country is just way too small. So investing overseas, looking for opportunities overseas is part of our DNA. It's not for the Japanese.
I think we had better consider for the history. And Japanese history, we don't have so much experience go abroad, go overseas. They are satisfied in domestic business, domestic lifestyle, instead of European people or instead of Chinese people. They have several reasons why they could not stay in their own country. They need to go outside and for getting money. And but we don't have experience in the past, so that's the reason why Japanese company and people are very reluctant to make investment overseas. But this is a problem. But if future Japanese people are very have problem domestic economy and domestic politics, so forth, and then I'm sure they decide to go outside, like your country, Dutch.
Right. I hope they will start it very, very soon, and become aware of what's going on. I mean, there are already examples within the Japanese economy. Suntory is a good example. Kirin was also a good example, but they failed unfortunately. But these are examples of companies, of board members who said, okay, well, we need to expand our vision globally, otherwise we will not be able to sustain ourselves, to survive. I hope that will be a good example for the rest of the Japanese economy, but I fear that it's very much it's very difficult. I mean, the leaders of Japanese businesses at the moment, they become leader. The biggest virtue is time. That means that they have to follow their leaders. They have to obey, have to just make sure that they don't rock the boat, they don't make mistakes, they follow the right leader, and then they will end up becoming a leader themselves. That kind of attitude, that kind of virtue of not taking risks, of making sure that you don't screw up instead of seize new opportunities, is not very conducive to create the kind of leader that you need in order to take risks, to take bold steps, and to bring your company to change, to pivot, and to actually seize new opportunities. I'm afraid that it requires a bottom-up change and awarding leaders within the company, not based on their time, but based on their talents and based on their efforts, to actually become the new leaders of these Japanese businesses. But if we keep on following our leaders and just say yes, 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 boss, and help them to not take risks, then it will be too late.
I think we have history 1600 in Japan. 700 big ship they constructed and going to Southeast Asia, and 70,000 people moving from Japan to outside Japan. At that time, they cannot speak English. They can speak local language, but they went there. So this is one thing we experienced, and the other is we had the war with China.
What drove those people, Ono-san? Ono-san, what drove those people to go to Southeast Asia? Was that because they wanted to get rich, or was it because their situation in Japan was
good question.
deplorable?
Good question. At that time, they had people, especially for the more southern part of areas, Japanese people were eager to doing business with overseas people to get money. And finally, the Edo Bakufu prohibit to do that.
Right.
So before that, they are very actively dealing business with Southeast Asia to get the business.
Like the rest of the world was doing.
Yeah. And the same thing happened at 1900. At the time around the battle war against China. At that time, many Japanese moving to China, and they did dealing business over there, and also not only economy but also politics. Many people moving to China, and this is, I think, the second time Japan is involved in Westerners and Chinese people to get along with those people. But since then, nothing happened in Japan. Okay, of course.
Because Japan became rich, and people no longer needed to look for wealth outside of Japan because there was so much to go around inside.
Yeah, in the history, Japanese always, they're complacent, or they're satisfied satisfied life. They don't need to go outside. In the history, all the way around, we don't have need to go outside. So in the next 100 years, it's the same situation, but we need to do something. That if you consider for 1600 years, kind of, so at that time, Japanese people going abroad, this is no problem for language. So this is not language. I think how we're going to initiate, or how we're going to stimulate Japanese people to go abroad. I don't know what action we can stimulate for those people. I don't know what the best way to do that. But otherwise, they are still, what kind of situation has come, but they will not go abroad. They will not go outside. The same current situation will go on and on, because they don't worry about this. Even if GDP declining compared with Hong Kong, compared with Singapore, they don't care. Okay, they are satisfied and the current situation, current level of life standard.
Yeah, okay, but they're satisfied. But I mean, if Japan is not competitive, if there's only a few countries who go outside, is it guaranteed that they will take back money back to Japan and pay taxes here? I doubt it. All the investment that Century made in the United States, in Jim Beam, that money is not coming back to Japan. That's going to stay in the United States. The taxes that will be paid in the United States. Suntory basically will start to contribute less and less to Japan. I don't believe that Suntory will stay within Japan if they're successful.
But Japanese government, they don't care, even if tax revenue reducing Japanese company go overseas. And this is Japanese culture. Not like American culture. American culture try to get the money even if company go overseas. But Japanese government, of course, Japanese government try to same way American government will do, but basically Japanese government is based upon Japanese culture. Japanese culture is just as it is, okay? As it is, it's just declining tax, okay, declining tax. There's no way, even if Japanese company go abroad.
Yeah, but we're going to need a lot more tax. If we are actually going to lose 30% of our jobs, that means that we will need to support 30% more of the people. If we are not going to drastically increase our tax, how are we going to finance that?
Oh, this is a different story. You mean 30% the increased employment people. This is because of the IT efficiency, and this case is no problem. Just company profit the same, right? Even if unemployment, so they can get a tax. But problem is like automobile industry.
But the problem, Uno-san, is okay if the company's profitability remains the same. Well, this is not true in the case, for example, for the car industry, but okay, because we go to a sharing economy and hopefully we will start to consume less. That means that actually the company profit will not be the same, it will also reduce. But still, if we look at what companies are paying in terms of taxes, this is really a problem because it's too easy to evade taxes for companies. And there are now a lot of voices that actually ask to change the tax system to actually tax only at the source where consumption takes place, because we are no longer capable of capturing those companies. Companies open up new branches all over the world. They open an office somewhere in Vietnam or in Malaysia or in wherever. And they start to pay taxes there, and they book their revenue there, and they fall under a lower tax bracket. It's too easy to escape taxes. So you have a shrinking income of companies, and you have a very open global financial world where taxes can be avoided very easily. So I'm very worried that we will not be able to afford it.
Oh, by the way, you can consider for Scandinavian countries, they increase tax rate for individual very high level, and Japanese government will going to take the same action. Like they're going to next year they're going to raise consumption tax to 10%, and for next 10 years the consumption tax will go to 20-30%.
Yeah, so that we already have 22% in the Netherlands.
Yeah, this is Netherlands same. So advanced country, okay, we're going to consider for level of individual people, and they try to get money through tax, and also then they try to distribute money.
But that's the only way, because we can only get taxes from those consumption tax, because other taxes become more and more difficult to leverage. It's becoming more and more difficult to get taxes from companies like Suntory and other globalized companies. And it also, we will have to take into effect that we will not get that much tax revenues from companies like Toyota and Nissan. Already they are producing a lot of their cars inside the U.S., inside of Southeast Asia, where they are paying local taxes, and not taxes into Japan. So If you consider the fact that we are going to depend more and more on consumption tax, and actually GDP is declining, then you have to increase your consumption tax to extreme levels in order to keep your tax revenue up. So I'm very far from optimistic.
Yeah, this is right. Okay, we are still demanding employment now.
There will still be employment, of course. There will be still employment, but there will also be a lot of unemployment. And if we don't want unrest into our society, then we will need to provide some kind of basic income to those people.
That's right. Okay.
All right. Okay, so we talked about this. I believe developed economies like Japan are likely to be hit hardest in the coming changes as higher average wages incentivize automation. Yeah, so more that's easy. So substitute expensive workers for cheaper technology. Employment in industries like healthcare will increase aging population, while jobs involve physical labor, machinists, cooks, or data processing are most at risk of automation. Increased inequality, high-paying, creative and cognitive jobs will be at a premium, while the demand for middle and low-skilled occupation will decline. The people who are able to design the technology, who manage people and collaboration with technology, they are the people who will be able to keep their jobs and actually get probably higher income. But low-skilled workers, the people who need to execute their work, they are at risk. This will lead to a too-tired labor market. The individuals in the higher income bracket are more able to adapt to the changing job market, and that social mobility will suffer as a result, as a traditional stepping stone job, like a clerk work in a law firm, they're being eliminated. So what you see is that the very highly skilled people, the flexible people, the people with a higher education, with a flexible mindset, the people who understand the new technology or are able to use the new technology or even implement the technology within their companies, they will be able to sustain their jobs. But the people below that, the people who do the clerical work, who need to write the contracts, who need to do the more manual work, those jobs will disappear. But those jobs are actually the jobs that are now being taken by the young generation who leave from university. They gather experience, they gain experience by working and doing these jobs, and then gradually they will move up to these higher positions. They are not always low-skilled workers, they are just inexperienced workers. Now, if these jobs disappear, what's going to happen with the younger generation? Will they be able, how are they going to get their experience? How are they going to actually get access to become part of the leadership team? So even though they have the talent, will they still have the job? Will there still be enough jobs to actually employ these young people and give them the experience to become the future leaders? That is another thing to consider. So youth unemployment is also likely to rise because of this. And this is bad for the future if you have a high youth unemployment. To combat this, there may be need to targeted politics from a universal basic income to improved education and training, and perhaps a better way to tax large multinationals. We already talked about this just now. So technology destroys. Sorry?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So technology destroys jobs. I've taken two examples. One is Amazon and the other is Uber. Let's look at the first video.
No voice.
Overson, you cannot hear it?
No.
I know what's going on. Yeah, it's because I'm using a headset. One moment. I will play it back so you cannot hear it. Here, all the video is actually what comes back through my microphone. Let's try it again.
Okay.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store, so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Interesting.
So this already exists. This is not just a figment of the imagination. This is a shop where you just go in, walk out. No cash. Actually, not even, you don't even have to pull your credit card. It's just taken automatically from your account. In the video there's somebody working who's replenishing the stocks, but other than that there's no shop staff going around. It's very easy, and it's already happening on a much more modest scale in the Netherlands nowadays. If you enter a supermarket, you can pick up a scanner yourself.
I tell you, Chinese company will go and pick it up within next year. So whole Chinese supermarket will going to be like this. This is Chinese way.
Yeah,
amazing.
Maybe it will go in steps. Like in the Netherlands, almost every supermarket has scanners, and you can choose either you go through a cash register, or you just scan your own articles. You go to you can check out yourself, and then sometimes there's a shop, somebody who will ask you to scan 5 articles, and if those 5 articles are indeed you scan those, then you say okay, then it's okay. So they take a test to see whether people actually pay for what they take, and it works. So if you don't want to wait in a line for the cash register, you just scan your product yourself, and you can be out. It's a very simple step, but it's the first step towards getting rid of cashiers altogether.
Yeah, just a moment.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. By the way, scanner is I understand, but that Amazon Go, they didn't use any scanners.
No.
How they going to figure out their product to pick up?
Probably RFID. RFID.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. They just put all item RFID
Yeah.
is put it on. Oh,
Yeah.
I see. That's right. Exactly.
So, yeah, the technology is already there. It's already happening. We can do it. Interesting, though, is what I see in most supermarkets. People are rather waiting in line than picking up the articles themselves and checking and scanning them and checking out themselves. It's the only people you see doing this are, well, the majority are people in between 20 and 30 years old. They are the ones who use the scanners, the young mothers, etc. They're the ones who use the scanners, but the elderly people hardly ever use the scanner. It's very easy to forecast, but yeah, that's what I noticed.
Exactly. The same thing happened in Vietnam within a couple of years. And Japan, no, they are very conservative. They take time.
Right.
So, but no problem, you know.
No, we already had it. Not everything works. So, when e-commerce was introduced in the Netherlands, there were, for example, you had the possibility of shopping online and then picking up your groceries at a gas station on the way home. So you could actually buy things online and then assign a gas station, because gas stations are open 24/7. In the Netherlands, everything closes after 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. So you could go to a gas station, pick it up, but that didn't last long. People didn't do it because it was troublesome, not easy. Now what you see with Amazon, actually, where people were actually basically we're skipping the whole phase of going shopping and actually having goods directly delivered to your house. It's very easy. I do it a lot. Amazon Fresh. You don't pay anything extra. Basically, delivery costs are included in what you buy on Amazon, and all the heavy stuff like 16 liters of water, beer, all these things, you can have brought to your doorstep very easily. It doesn't cost anything. You don't even have to go to the shop anymore.
Yeah, but this is very big issues to consider for transportation. Even if they're going to buy the $5 product, they free delivery, but they cannot get profit.
No.
How are you going to solve this issue?
Well, this is what you see is basically some people will have to drop out.
Yeah, but Amazon, they will going to do it.
Right, because Amazon is not only about free delivery. These companies like Yodobashi Camera, they have the whole infrastructure. They have their physical, they have shops, they have shop staff that they need to pay. So their whole cost structure is designed, their whole organization is designed to have a physical presence, to have shops there. And that means that they need to drive people to shops. Now, they don't want to lose out on the online. So they're going to deliver $5 goyakien items to your doorstep in order to actually go through that transformation. But that is a cost duplication. Amazon started differently. They don't have shops. They don't have the people. Their whole organization is tailored toward doing this. So I think for companies like Yodobashi and Big Camera Toka, it's going to be very, very difficult to uphold this. The only way that they can do it is by subsidizing it from the profits that they make in their physical shops, and then hoping that they can gradually make the transformation and become the next Amazon, and transforming their whole presence. But they will need to be very, very serious about cutting people and bringing more and more people into this online shopping. Otherwise, they cannot do it. They cannot do it.
Do you know Yodobashi and Amazon that they hire the delivery people?
Right.
It means they're going to change their business, you know, transportation company.
Right. Logistics company.
Yeah, logistics company.
That's also what Mercedes called themselves. You remember the video that we saw?
Oh,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
truck?
That's right.
That we are no longer a car manufacturer. We are a logistics company.
So what's going to happen next 10 years? It means Amazon, a logistic company, Yodobashi logistic company, their support is going to be combined.
Yeah, very. Of course, that
Or
makes a lot of sense.
Yamato will going to change their company, style, or a new company will emerging.
Right.
Or
Right.
Japan Post will going to change. It means they need to change the way of delivery system. Otherwise, they can reduce cost.
There's obviously so you can say, okay, well, it's very inefficient for Yodobashi to create their own logistics system next to Amazon, next to all these other companies. So that should become a transparent layer with only a few competitors that provide generic logistic services. So you can basically track and trace where is your article, where is my stock, and connect it directly to an electronic order, and then decide whoever is going to fulfill the distribution service to actually bring the closest, the nearest product to that customer. So I would say that you're not going to tie in with one logistics partner, but basically you're going to put all these distribution centers together and create maybe with blockchain technology, create a connector with different distribution service providers, and start to operate from there.
Do you know how they're going to reduce the logistics cost?
Well, by doing exactly what I just described, that's what I suspect.
No, I'm thinking this is automated driving. Automated driving, so anywhere
right.
in the city, in the town, they can deliver automation.
But who's going to do that automated driving? Is that going to be the logistics company, or is that going to be the companies like Amazon?
New industry.
So I think it's going to be the Kronekos and the
Okay. One concrete, idea. Maybe they're thinking about. Okay, if you're going to accept pick up your product at 7-Eleven or Lawson, okay, this is a transportation cost. Plus, you can get more additional saving money. So this is automated driving is capable. Okay, just automated driving car. Dropping the product at 7-Eleven or some of those shops, just dropping post. So this sort of thing will going to happen within couple of years. So it means okay, no transport, no logistics cost. You're going to asking for.
But another thing is that basically you want to enable all these companies, Yodobashi Camera, Big Camera, all these companies who want to start doing that and bring products directly to people. They're going to be operators like Kroneko, who's going to create. They're going to create a platform and say, okay, just plug your warehouse into a logistics system, and whenever there is an order via your e-commerce platform, we will reroute that and take logistics upon us. But it's not only going to be Kroneko, it's also going to be Sagawa, so it's going to be completely transparent, and it will be logistics as a service with different with a few different players.
What's going on?
So basically that's basically going to reduce the logistics cost, because it's going to be much more efficient than creating all these parallel logistic services. So that means that more and more physical shops will be closed, because the cost of logistics
of course.
will go to...
Of course. No shop. But my question is, okay, Sagawa and Yamato, what's happened for those competitors? Japan Post?
I think there will be probably about 4 or 5 big ones who are capable of investing in electronic vehicles, who have enough presence to build up a good fleet, and who can be complementary to each other. maybe locally, regionally, there will be different providers. For example, in Aomori or whatever, in these areas, you will see different logistics providers. But all in all, there will be a race for logistics companies to start bringing coverage to Japan. And once that coverage is there, there will be and there will be a transparent layer where you can basically choose, okay, I need to bring my product from Tokyo to Aomori, and I will choose the shortest route that will go through multiple logistics partners. It doesn't matter. So just a warehouse, it goes from warehouse A to warehouse B to warehouse C, and then I will look at availability and presence, and it will be picked up and very easily and quickly, smoothly, at the lowest possible cost. It will be brought to the customer.
Mm. But no competitive advantage among competitors.
Well, competitive advantage is availability, is transparent. Well, okay, well, you got a good point. If the I think that basically to make this work, it needs to become almost like a public service. So that basically means that the customer needs to be in the position to enforce Yamato and Kroneco to work together. So it almost becomes like a public service. But if the power, the economic power, remains within the hands of Kroneco and Yamato, then it will, so that they can work parallelly. But basically, the consumer should drive these companies to work together and to basically let us choose how we bring our product from A to B.
For example, it's currently, like you said, Amazon selling product to customer, right? But the other logistics is pick luggage from individual house to send into the other individual house. This is actually the delivery product to one to the other location. But this is same issue. They have no problem. Just a blockchain system, but also they can identification something RSID and also automatic recognition of
You just check it and then you can track the whole thing and make it transparent throughout the supply chain, and it doesn't need to be inside your company.
Actually, my office building, everybody bring their parcel downstairs for submit for the some convenience store, and the convenience store going to handling for the doing something, and so automated vehicle will pick it up. So if this kind of is they're going to take this kind of action method, I think almost logistics will going to be fully automated.
And also, I just found yesterday, this is Grab. Then Grab is serving now not only for transportation but delivery. This is someone will pick up your baggage or stuff to deliver it to where you want to be sent. So this is another service, sharing economy, sharing service. So just taking some current logistics company together may not be enough to be competitive.
So what is that? I didn't hear the first thing you said.
Yeah, just right.
That Apri?
Yeah, Grab.
Oh, Grab.
What is it?
Right.
You can choose service menu, not only transportation but food and delivery.
But they're not the ones who just put a layer on top of these different logistics companies? They're doing it themselves?
Yeah, it's like the same as the taxi service.
Right.
So you don't know you don't know who will coming to pick up your baggage.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, there will be their registered driver.
Right. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Basically, you're going to it's going to be transparent. You don't know exactly who will do it, and it may actually be a very good idea for these companies themselves to say, okay, why would we, if I am in the area, for example, here in Tokyo, and I'm a logistics company, and a customer asked me to pick up a parcel and bring it to Aomori, then I can actually say, you know what? Actually, I can pick it up from the house because I have somebody out there. I pick it up from the house, but instead of bringing it to Aomori, I bring it to a logistics center in Ueno. And there, I'm going to offer it to the warehouse and ask somebody else from a different company to pick it up. So I can take the first part of the logistics, the chain of logistics, but I actually outsource it again to another company who has presences in Aomori, because it doesn't make sense for me to go all the way to Aomori to deliver it there if there is another logistics company who has a much better and tighter knit distribution network. So that's the next step. The customer can put out this request, but even logistics companies can work together to make the most efficient logistics idea. There's an interesting case in Mexico with cement. They try to have cement transportation in Mexico and organize that, plan it. So they had a central operations bureau, and they were planning cement to go everywhere in the country. But it was terrible because there were always delays and very expensive, and there were always trouble and whatever. So what they did is actually they changed the system completely. So what they instead of planning everything, what they did is at the planning center they only made the transportation needs available, and then they just offered them online. And the different logistics companies, they basically they could say, okay, well, I will take this transport, I will take this transport. So they reversed it, and they dramatically increased profitability because of this. By instead of actually pushing it and planning it, going from A to B, by making it making it available online and let the individual drivers decide on who's going to take what.
Even individual drivers.
Right.
Oh, this is exactly currently undergoing for the, what's that? Is this IoT or just beyond the industry or beyond the company? They're going to exchange information even if they have different company. Is this it will going on in the next several years? For example, currently, like we can, very simple example is JL ANA is the different airplane company. So, but if you try to looking for the available seat, but currently they exchange information, but they were going to exchange information soon. Which seat is most available, timing and cost and so forth. It's going to cooperative action will be coming soon. Like
But
what you said.
We already see this, Uno-san, in aviation. So very often this flight is being operated. It's a joint operation with Finnair and KLM, for example.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's basically a collaboration, because the individual companies cannot fill the airplane, so they combine the passengers from two different companies and operate one flight to make it possible, to make it viable.
So I think competition way of style will going to be drastically changing, right?
Right, but but still the competition is of course going on. But in order to be competitive, you need to work together, because you only want to work in in the area where you can be profitable. So if you can, if it is profitable for you to fill half of an airplane, only half of an airplane, but then half an airplane, if you bring that airplane from A to B, you cannot operate it. But if you work together with another company and jointly use one airplane, then perhaps you can become profitable.
But Japanese system is not like that. For example, plane flying time is getting closer, they never reduce price, not instead of American airline.
Yes, but ANA works together with KLM.
Yeah. But they are not sharing available seat and price and cost, right?
They do.
Sharing price, sharing plane.
Yeah, they're member of the same group.
Oh, member of the same group?
Right.
You mean the investment?
So it's what's it called? The Sky.
Oh,
Group.
this is not investment. This is just a coordinated share.
Right. But I mean, that makes sense. If that makes sense, then basically they have a completely different. They're completely different companies. They're part of the same group, but they work together in order to be more competitive. So they need to share capacity and not duplicate capacity, because duplicating capacity costs money, and if that then they cannot be competitive. So by sharing their capacity, they will be able to remain competitive. Both KLM and ANA, they're still competitors, but by working together, they can stay in operation. So I think that's the future.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's true. But currently, JAL and ANA is very many planes is shared with Chinese airplane company.
Right.
Every time I go into Shanghai, I pick a Chinese airline, but actually this is coordinated air of JAL or ANA.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can't using ANA lounge, but plane the same.
Right.
Same food.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But that's also with logistics. I think that happened the same thing. Even though there are competitors, but it doesn't make sense for me to really wanting to bring a parcel from A to B. If I don't have any presence in B, then I better work together with a different logistics partner, even though they may be my competitors. But it makes more sense for me to actually work together. So I see that is going to be like Grab. What Takashi-san is showing is going to be like Grab. But even those logistics partners, those fulfillment partners, will also use Grab to actually only use the stretches where they can be competitive, where they can make money, and then give it to somebody else and give them the opportunity to make a little money in the stretches where they're most efficient.
Okay, but by the way, Takashi, Grab is what kind of company? Delivery company?
Grab is online service. They don't have any the car. They don't have the employment of
Like
Grab.
Uber.
Oh, they are looking for the delivery company, delivery car. So arrangement.
They're making contract with the individual drivers.
Oh, you mean the taxi?
Yeah, it's like a taxi, but it's not full-time taxi.
Okay, I understand. Like a China Didi.
Yeah, Mr. A is registered, and if he's available and he'll be called by someone by Grab, and that will be Mr. A who is coming to pick him up.
Okay, this is Didi.
So for the company like Yodobashi and the real the shop retailers, then they might be going to do the delivery service instead of the operating the actual shop. But rather, it might not be enough. But like this company is not gonna have to keep these resources as their asset. I mean, the car and driver, even is not necessary.
Right.
just working this service online by online service like the Grab.
Right.
Actually, I tell you, I think that Amazon is already working with companies like Grab already. Sometimes you get deliveries from people who are obviously shiroto, not professionals. They are basically just around and available, and so they probably work with multiple logistic partners already. Just whatever is possible. But what does this kind of model is very interesting. Because what does it mean? It means that companies, logistics companies, they don't need to keep people on board anymore. They become super lean. They basically become IT vendors. So they make their money off the margin on these logistics services. But every worker becomes kind of like an independent entrepreneur, a self-employed entrepreneur. You have to be very, very flexible, which means that people can work independently, making a living. But it's also very flexible because if there is a certain dip in logistic needs, if there's an economic crisis, these people will be immediately running out of a job and running out of income. So the economy in itself becomes very agile. But what does it mean in terms of the future, in terms of the certainty that people will have money next month or in a half year's time? Will you still be able to make money working as a Grab driver or not? If that uncertainty kicks in, that means that people will become very, very careful spending money. That actually will have consequences for our economy because people will become very risk averse in spending their money, and that will put more and more contraction on our economic growth, even in the short run.
Do you have any ongoing idea or example in the country of Norway doing some trial on this kind of sharing industry, the changing from existing?
I can see.
But maybe thinking in a positive way, the more and more the company that wants to offer this personal effort for their services, and it's gonna not likely to lose a job.
Actually, Takai-san, what I believe is happening is that these kinds of jobs, these Grab jobs, these Grab drivers, these Uber drivers, they are especially popular in countries like the US, Japan, Japan not yet, but especially in countries that have very low safety nets, social safety nets. People who lose their jobs. I will show this probably on Saturday, but in the video of Uber, you will see a lot of people, a lot of Uber drivers are people who lost their jobs, who actually lost their jobs, who are unemployed, who quickly need money. What they have is a car, so the only thing you need to do is just sign up as an Uber driver, and you can start to make money just to make ends meet. But these people have zero security. Now, in the Netherlands, there is even if you become unemployed, you still get paid for quite a long time. So there is much less incentive to take these kind of flexible jobs with very little job security, because basically the security is being provided by the government. So I think that these countries like the US are the first ones to see an uptake in these like Grab and Uber and whatever sharing economy jobs, where basically everybody becomes self-employed. But it is very important that the government will follow and realize that these people are very, very vulnerable, that they get some kind of protection. And maybe the minimum income should become the minimum income of those independent workers, people who who are trying to make ends meet, becoming couriers or whatever we will think of next, and protect those people against like abject poverty, that they will at least have minimum health care and other kinds of insurance.
So what is meant to manage something will be like not managing the company, but managing the resources in the society.
Right. Right.
On the sharing service and sharing economy, where the unemployed and individual person, the more and more they're working for the service.
Right. So
it's not guaranteed, and so how the society managing the society itself.
Right. Right. Everybody's self-employed.
Okay. Okay. Time is up.
Yes. Okay. So let's continue with Amazon, because that was just the first video of Amazon.
Yes.
There are two more. Finishing up employment and the rest of the issues for Japan next Saturday.
Okay. Good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good discussion we did today. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Enjoy your week.
Yeah.
See you Saturday.
Yeah. See you Saturday.
Bye bye.